All right. This is our review part 2 for our Algebra 2 1 through 50 review test part 2, class 2, 2019-2020 school year, third quarter. I don't know if there's any other numbers we can associate to this. All right, so with this question, you're going to get something that looks similar to this. It's going to ask you and you can tell like I'm rushing to type. It should say determine, not determine. If the graph is continuous, discontinuous, and or discrete, determine if it's a function or relation, determine the domain and range. So there's parts of this that you're going to actually have to write that I just underlined. Okay. For instance, the other class determined that this was discontinuous. Can anybody in here tell me how we know this is discontinuous? At what point? Point what? Point 1, -1, it has a break, therefore it's discontinuous. Is it discrete? No. What does a discrete function look like? Nobody knows. Lines don't connect. Not quite. No. I mean, you can have one over another one, or a point over a point. You're basically saying that it doesn't pass the vertical line test. We could have. It just wouldn't be a function at that point. It would be like a discontinuous relation. Okay, I'm guessing that we forgot about this. So a discrete discontinuous function would look something like this. With no lines. All it is points. Okay, that's discrete. Does that make sense? Okay, so we're familiar with that. All right, so this is not discrete because we do have line segments included here. All right, the other thing that the other class determined is that this was in fact a function. Can anybody in here tell me how we know this is a function? It would pass the vertical line test. Okay, great. So we know it's discontinuous because there's a break. We know it's a function because it passes the vertical line test. And if I'm taking the test, I might want to state something to that effect. The last part that we need is we need to determine the domain and the range. What does domain refer to? The x values. Okay? Does this go on and on and on to the left? Yes. Does it go on and on and on to the right? All right, so we might say something here. I got to actually pull this up so I can see it. Scroll down here to number 7. Okay. All right. So, but this, and can we go so far as to say all real numbers for domain? No, yeah, no, yeah, are the responses I'm getting. Just because for posterity's sake, they won't know unless I say what you're saying. Okay, what is excluded from our domain? 1. So we're going to say all real values except 1. And that's why 1 is the loneliest number. 1. No, you guys, this song is way too old for you guys. All right, range. Okay, those are our y values. Does it go on and on forever up? Does it go on and on forever down? No. Okay. So is it greater than something or less than something? Greater than. So y is greater than what? Y is greater than -2. Is it equal to -2? Okay. Is that it? Except, actually, it does include -1. Does anybody know where it includes -1 at? Doesn't it include -1 over here somewhere? It just doesn't include -1 whenever x equals 1. Okay? So for this, my answer is simply my range is that y is greater than or equal to negative 2. Does that make sense? Okay. Do we know what we're expected to kind of be able to reveal there? Hopefully. Okay. All right, let's go on to our next page. If you ever have a question about, hey, what do I need to show on this or something like that, then stop me and I'll try to do my best to give you a heads up, okay, so you know what to study and what you need to be prepared to do. All right, let's look at 8. Okay, the height of an arrow that is shot upward at an initial velocity of, let's say, 80 meters per second can be modeled by h equals 80t minus 10t squared, where h is the height in meters and t is the time in seconds. Find the time it takes for the arrow to reach the ground. Okay, what you're going to need here, a lot of people get this right, but they get it right because it's a total guess. Okay, so we are working with this. H equals 80t minus 10t squared. What I want you to think about in this is I want you to treat that just like a normal function. All we are doing here is we are factoring the function and solving for t. Okay, can we do that? Can we factor the function and solve for t? Should be able to. Now, for a second, I want you to forget about h. I want you to just see this as negative 10t squared plus 80t. Okay, just look at the red. Okay, if I wanted to solve for t, what would I do there? Go ahead. What you would take out? So you're going to take out negative 10t, okay, because negative 10t will go into both terms, correct? Okay, what are you left with on the inside? T minus 8. Okay, great. This is the work that you have to show. You have to show this work because anything else is baloney. Okay? All right, now we got to figure out what to do from here. Okay, again, we want to solve for t. So what's next? Perfect. Negative 10t equals 0 and t minus 8 equals 0. Okay, what about the first part? The negative 10t equals 0. What are you doing to solve for t there? By negative 10. Okay, what is 0 divided by negative 10? 0. What does t represent again? Time, right? So this is correct, but what is the situation where t equals 0 at? That means the arrow is on the ground before I've shot it. Okay? Does that make sense? Okay, so now I have to go over here and I want to solve for t. What do I do there? Add 8, t equals 8 seconds. I will not accept any other work but this work. Everything else is a DSA. Does that make sense? Okay? So this right here is your answer. You must show work to get credit. You must show that work to get credit. I'm not saying that it can't vary ever so slightly, but this is the step in the process to get here. Okay? All right. I don't want to leave you with any confusion over what I expect. Okay, let's move on from that. Okay, number 9. Number 9 is going to give you a large set of data It's going to give you something like 1, 2, 3. It's going to give you 6 by 3 in terms of numbers of data. So it would look something like, oh, let's say, okay, where something like this. Sorry it's taking me so long. Okay, so this question is going to ask this. It's going to say, so you guys know what is going on here. What is the outlier? Then explain what its general effect is on the mean in this problem. And 2, what its general effect on the standard deviation is. You want to use complete sentences. Okay, so this is what I'm looking for in this. 1, you're going to tell me what the outlier is. What is the outlier in this data? 4, okay? What does the outlier do to the mean in this problem? It lowers the mean, okay? So the outlier is 4. It brings the mean down, okay? Hold on. So that's 1 and 2, right? And, okay? So really there's 3 parts, and I should have said 1, 2, 3. The third part is, what does the standard deviation in any set of data do to the standard deviation? What does the outlier in any set of data do to the standard deviation? Does anybody know? What does it do? It always raises it, because what the standard deviation is that it is the average distance between the individual numbers in the data from the average. So an outlier is always going to increase the distance between, or increase the average distance, because distance is always positive, right? So even if that outlier is really small, it's still increasing distance. It's increasing average distance. Does that make sense? So my 3 things here. My outlier is 4. It brings the mean of the data down, and the general effect of an outlier is that it increases the standard deviation. Okay, now I didn't write all that up there, but you are expected to say the equivalent to those things in complete sentences, okay? Complete sentences start with a capital letter, they end with period, they have punctuation. Okay, can we do that? Awesome, because this is going to be a fill in the blank. It's not fill in the blank, but it's a question that you're going to have to type in on. Okay? Pretty much an essay question, but I've essentially given you everything that you need to know. Okay? It's not going to be that different on the test. Okay? Let's see, 10. Let's see, 10 is going to give you some data. Let's see, 2, 3, 4. Where it's going to say something like tank size in gallons, total cost in dollars, okay? Where this is representing X values, this is representing Y values. Okay, let's say this is 22. Let's see, I need a calculator here. say this is 42.90, 30, 56.50, 34, and 63.30. All right, your job in this, okay, again, this is another short answer where you're going to have to type in, and it's going to tell you about the tank size and total cost. What it wants you to do, and I'll write just the portion that you need, is write an equation for the function in slope, intercept, form. Then find the cost to fill up and car wash for a customer with a 44-gallon tank. Okay? So what you want to do with this is you're going to use your slope form, so y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, okay, in order to find your slope. Right, then you're going to use your y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1 in order to get the equation. Right, once you have the slope, you're going to use a coordinate pair to find that. And then after you've got your equation, you can plug in, you're going to plug in 44 for x in order to get your cost y. Does that make sense? Okay, so what I'll try to do tonight before I leave is work this question out on the board, so that you can see that being done by example. Does that make sense? Okay, so I'll hit stop here.
So all 4 videos?
It'll be 3 videos by the time it's all done. The other 3 are still there.